I know that someday you'll want me to want you.
Della Reese was born Della Reese Patricia early on July 6, 1931, in Detroit, Michigan. Her father, Richard, worked in the steel mills, while her mother, Nellie, was a cook and homemaker. Life in the early household wasn't glamorous, but it was full of love and music. Gospel radio filled the home, and Sundays were always spent in church. From the very beginning, young Della Reese stood out. She sang in church at just 6 years old, stunning the congregation with a voice far too powerful for a little girl. By the time she was 13, her talent had reached the ears of none other than Mahalia Jackson, the queen of gospel herself. Jackson invited Della to join her on tour, and the teenager suddenly found herself on the road, learning what it meant to live as a professional performer. Reese later said, "Mahalia was more than a mentor. She was a second mother. She showed me how to take my gift seriously and how to carry myself with grace, no matter where I went." Her time with Jackson wasn't just about music. Traveling across the country exposed Della to the realities of segregation and racism in mid-20th century America. Those experiences planted the seeds of resilience and faith that would carry her through personal trials later in life. But even as gospel was at the heart of her upbringing, Della had broader ambitions. In high school, she formed her own gospel group, the Meditation Singers, which gained a strong local following. At the same time, she began sneaking into Detroit nightclubs, performing jazz standards and pop ballads under the name Little Miss Della. This ability to move between sacred and secular music became her trademark. And if you are into classic Hollywood icons, amazing stories, and newly discovered insights, then hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and your support will mean a lot to our channel. Her big break came in 1953 when she won a local contest to sing with the Erskine Hawkins Orchestra. With Hawkins, she cut her teeth on the road, singing swing and jazz to packed ballrooms. That same year, she recorded her first tracks and caught the attention of RCA Records. By 1959, she was on the Billboard charts with Don't You Know, a soaring ballad that showcased the operatic range of her voice. The single sold over 1 million copies, earned her a gold record, and made her a household name almost overnight. Looking back, Reese said, "I didn't plan it. I thought I'd sing in church all my life. But God had other plans. He put me on stages I never dreamed of." From a poor Detroit girl singing in Sunday services to a national sensation with a hit single, Della Reese's discovery story was one of talent, timing, and an unstoppable determination to make her voice heard. As her career began to rise in the 1950s, Della Reese's personal life was also evolving. She longed for stability and family, even as the demands of fame pulled her in every direction. Her first marriage was to Vermont Taliaferro in 1952, but the relationship was short-lived. Reese was young, ambitious, and constantly on the move, and the marriage dissolved within a few years. She married again in 1959 to Leroy Basil Gray, a union that also ended quickly. In her own words, "I was chasing dreams and chasing love at the same time, and I couldn't hold on to both." Motherhood entered her life not through a traditional path, but in a way that showed her capacity for love and commitment. In the early 1960s, she adopted a daughter, Della Reese Daniels Owens, naming her after herself. Reese often said this decision was one of the most meaningful in her life. "I didn't give her life, but God gave me the privilege to love her as my own." Balancing her growing fame with motherhood was not easy. Reese was performing in nightclubs, recording albums, and appearing on television shows, while also raising a young daughter. She often brought Della Reese with her to rehearsals, or leaned on her close-knit family in Detroit for support. By the mid-1960s, Reese had married for a third time, this time to concert producer Mercer Ellington, son of jazz legend Duke Ellington. The marriage didn't last long, but it placed Reese even more firmly in the center of the jazz world. During this period, she became a mother figure not just to her own daughter, but to young musicians who looked to her for guidance. Her true sense of family grew even more when she later married Franklin Lett, a producer and concert promoter who would become her life partner. With him, Reese raised not only Della, but also 3 other children, Dominique, Franklin, and James, building a blended family that was both loving and resilient. Reese admitted in an interview that the dual life of star and mother was never easy. "I could go from singing to thousands in Las Vegas to sitting at the kitchen table helping with homework the very next night. That's the role I'm proudest of." Her first and most well-known child was Della Daniels Owens, whom she adopted in 1961. This was not a distant adoption. Della was actually the daughter of Della's half-brother, but Reese stepped in to raise her as her own. She was lovingly nicknamed Dumpsy and grew up very close to her famous mother. Della often spoke about the joy her daughter brought her, and the bond between them was deep and maternal. Tragically, Della's life was cut short in 2002 when she passed away at only 41 years old from complications related to a pituitary disorder. The loss devastated Della, who openly acknowledged that she leaned heavily on her faith to endure the heartbreak. Despite the tragedy, Della remained a lasting part of Della's story, a reminder of the love she poured into being a mother. A few years after adopting her daughter, Della expanded her family again by adopting a son, James Barger, in the mid-1960s. James grew up under Della's roof while she was rising to fame as a singer, actress, and later as a minister. Compared to his sister, much less is publicly known about James, both from his childhood and his adult years. Della was protective of his privacy, and he largely stayed away from the spotlight. What is certain is that he grew up as part of the household that Della nurtured, a household full of music, discipline, and a deep spiritual foundation. Della's family grew once more in the 1980s, when she married producer and concert promoter Franklin Thomas Lett Jr. in 1983. Through this marriage, she gained 2 stepsons, Franklin Lett, the third, and Dominique Lett. While not her children by birth or adoption, she embraced them as her own. Like James, they lived mostly outside of the public eye, and there are very few details available about their private lives. Still, their presence in Della's life was acknowledged, and they were part of the family circle she cherished. Together, these 4 children, Della, James, Franklin III, and Dominique, made up the family that stood beside Della throughout her life. Their stories are not all equally visible, and some remain private by choice, but the constant thread is Della Reese's role as a mother figure. She believed strongly in building a family through love, commitment, and faith, and that commitment defined her just as much as her successful career. By the 1970s, Della Reese had become more than just a singer. She was a true entertainment powerhouse. Her rich contralto voice and commanding stage presence had already won her fans in nightclubs, on record, and on television variety shows. But now she was branching out further, proving she could do it all. In 1969, she became the first black woman to host her own talk show, Della, which aired nationally for 197 episodes. While short-lived, it broke barriers and made her a household name beyond the music world. Reese later reflected, "I didn't see it as being groundbreaking. I just knew there were stories that needed telling and people who deserved to be heard." Her acting career soon began to flourish. She appeared in hit TV shows like Chico and the Man, The Mod Squad, and Sanford and Son. On the big screen, she starred in Harlem Nights, 1989, alongside Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, where her razor-sharp comedic timing won her praise. But it was in the 1990s that Della Reese would secure her most iconic role. In 1994, she was cast as Tess, the wise, no-nonsense angel on CBS's Touched by an Angel. The show ran for 9 seasons and became a worldwide hit, touching millions of viewers with its blend of faith, hope, and storytelling. Reese's Tess wasn't just a character, she was a mentor figure both on and off screen. Roma Downey, who played her co-star Monica, once said, "Della wasn't just my TV mentor, she was my real-life angel, teaching me about grace, resilience, and love." The role earned Reese multiple NAACP Image Award nominations and solidified her as one of the most beloved television personalities of the 1990s. During this era, she also received a Grammy nomination for her gospel recordings and was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Even as her career soared, Reese never abandoned her music. She continued recording gospel albums, touring, and using her voice to inspire. She often said, "Singing is my prayer. Acting is my testimony. Both come from the same place." By the late 1990s, she was no longer just Della Reese the singer or Della Reese the actress. She was Della Reese the icon. By the 2000s, Della Reese was not only a star of stage and screen, she was also a minister. In 1983, she founded her own church in Los Angeles, the Understanding Principles for Better Living Church, often called the Up Church. As an ordained minister, she preached messages of hope, unity, and empowerment. Reese would often say, "Faith isn't just about words on Sunday. It's about how you live on Monday." Her role as Tess on Touched by an Angel felt like an extension of her ministry. Many fans would write to her, saying her words on the show had helped them through grief, illness, or loss. Reese took that responsibility seriously. Roma Downey remembered, "When people stopped us on the street, Della would pray with them right there. No cameras, no scripts, just her heart." But while her spiritual life flourished, her health began to decline. In 1979, she had already survived a near-fatal brain aneurysm, an event she said forever deepened her faith. In later years, she battled type 2 diabetes and other complications, which forced her to slow down. She left Touched by an Angel before the series ended, citing health reasons, but remained deeply connected to her castmates. On November 19, 2017, Della Reese passed away at the age of 86 at her home in California, surrounded by family. Her death was widely mourned. Tributes poured in from fans, colleagues, and faith leaders alike. Oprah Winfrey called her a trailblazer whose voice could shake the heavens and whose heart could soothe the earth. Her funeral was a celebration of life, filled with gospel music, heartfelt tributes, and stories of her generosity. She was laid to rest in Los Angeles, but her spirit continues to live through her ministry, her music, and her family. Her daughter, Dolores Daniels Owens, once said, "My mother gave the world her songs, but she gave us her prayers. That's how we keep her with us." The family has also been active in keeping her memory alive, supporting diabetes awareness programs and community initiatives in her honor. Even today, Reese is remembered not just as Tess or as the singer of Don't You Know, but as a pioneer, a woman who crossed boundaries of race, genre, and even vocation. From Hollywood sound stages to church pulpits, she proved that one life could hold many callings. Della Reese's story is one of resilience, transformation, and faith. From gospel prodigy to talk show pioneer, from Hollywood star to devoted minister, she lived many lives in one, and her children and grandchildren continue to carry her light forward. She once said, "We are all angels in training, learning to love better every day." And maybe that's the legacy she left, not just through her music and her roles, but through the family she raised and the millions she inspired. So what do you think? Is Della Reese's greatest legacy her timeless voice, her groundbreaking career, or the love she poured into her family and faith? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the real stories behind the legends, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next.